Going on, everybody? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day wherever you're at. If you're watching this, we're jumping into the next episode of the Magnus Archives. It's going to be number 6, Squirm. Links will be down below in the description, as always, to the Magnus Archives playlist, to the Rusty Quill Podcasts YouTube channel, and to their website. So check out all their stuff. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to go over to their YouTube channel and to this video. Give it a like. Hit that sub button if you haven't subscribed to their channel already, and yeah, check out their website for any kind of merch or any other kind of ways that you can support them if you want to take your support from them to the next level. If you'd like to join us as I do these reactions live, which I am right now with my YouTube members, we'd love to have you guys come in and hang out, join the discussions that we have before, during, and after the videos. There's a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube membership benefits and tiers that I have to offer. So yeah, check all that stuff out if you decide you want to take your support from my channel to the next level. But regardless, I just appreciate you guys coming and hanging out, checking out the channel and the videos. I greatly appreciate taking the time out of your busy day and schedule to do so. If you enjoy the video of mine, consider leaving a like and sub. That helps me and the YouTube algorithm gods know that you enjoy this kind of content and you'd like to see some more. So yeah, let's jump into this here. Again, this is Magnus Archives number 6, Squirm.
Rusty Quill presents the Magnus Archives.
The Magnus Archives.
Episode 6, Squirm.
Statement of Timothy Hodge regarding his sexual encounter with one Harriet Lee and her subsequent death.
Yikes.
Original statement given December 9th, 2014. Audio recording by Jonathan Sims, head archivist of the Magnus Institute, London. Statement begins. I don't know what happened. I'm sure she's dead, but I don't... Let me start from...
That's a hell of a way to start. I don't know what happened. I'm sure she's dead, but I don't know what happened. Okay. That's, good opening line.
The beginning. I work as a designer, mainly freelance with a few more regular gigs with companies who like my work. I also had the luxury of a flat I'd managed to get set up so I could do most of my work there. This meant when I have a big job, I spent quite a lot of time not leaving my home. Not the most stable of employment, but I got quite good at balancing it so that after a big project, I left myself a few days or maybe even a week before I had to get started on the next one.
It's also always interesting how, the person that is, they're recording the statement of, it sounds like he's playing, what his normal voice would be. But then when he's, the head archivist, he gets that kind of deeper and more, I guess he kind of enunciates, his words a little bit more and kind of elongates his words a little bit more. That's when he actually slips into the character. But until then, he's actually just kind of himself reading a script.
I find it's important that I use this time to unwind and blow off a bit of steam, as when I've got work, I often end up missing out on the regular weekend. Drinking and clubbing are my relaxation methods of choice, usually down Camden or Old Street. And while I'll admit I'm not above the occasional party drug, I swear that I was stone cold sober when all this took place. That night in particular, it was about 3 weeks ago now, I'd just finished a big job for one of my more demanding clients, and I wanted to get a bit wrecked. Unfortunately, none of my friends were free to join me, not surprising as it was a Thursday in the middle of November. So it didn't feel worth heading all the way into the city. Luckily, I live in Brixton, which means I have a few decent options almost on my doorstep. And I happened to know that the Dog Star ran a pretty decent club night on Thursdays. I decided to go along and enjoy myself. I did enjoy myself in the end, despite the crowds and the music. I wasn't feeling quite as wild as I expected, but I drank a bit and danced plenty. Okay, maybe I wasn't quite as sober as I said.
I was gonna say, if you're drinking, you ain't stone cold sober there, brother. Already throwing up the fabrications in your statement.
Earlier, but I certainly wouldn't have called myself drunk. Now, I wasn't particularly looking to get laid that night, but I know I'm not an unattractive guy and I live local, so I'm always alert, shall we say, for any possibility of finding myself a partner. It was closing in on midnight when I saw her. She was skinny and had that student look which could have put her age anywhere between 19 and 28. Her hair was long, dyed a deep henna red, and she wore torn tights and too much eyeliner. Exactly the sort of girl I go for. She was lurking on the dance floor, and I wasted no time trying to catch her eye. It was hard.
I'd be head archivist in no time. I'd have my own wing of the Magnus Archives here in the States.
Than I'd guessed, though, as her attention seemed to be mainly focused on the doors. At first, I thought she was waiting for someone, but the more I watched her, the more I saw the nervousness in her eyes, maybe even fear. It was at that point she noticed me, and our eyes just locked, you know? She came over and we began to dance together. She was excellent, far better than me, and moved in a smooth, rolling sort of rhythm that made the word writhe leap suddenly to my mind. I offered her a drink, but she refused, gesturing instead.
You know, I'm not much of a like club or dancer person, but I have in my time gone out and done such a thing. Never in my experience of when I've ever danced with a lady, have I ever thought of the word writhe describe what it feels like to dance with a woman. That alone feels very strange.
For water, which I happily got. I couldn't really hear her over the music, but you don't go to these nights for conversation. Besides, I heard her loud and clear when she leaned over and asked me if I wanted her. I said yes. Looking back, it was stupid, of course it was, but she was beautiful, and there was something in the way she moved that really got me. She smiled when I said yes, and for a moment it looked less like a smile of anticipation.
I mean, generally speaking, when an attractive woman you're dancing with says, "Hey, dude, do you want me?" It's gonna be pretty hard for the guy to say no in most cases. You know what I'm saying?
And more like a smile of relief. Outside the Dog Star, it was much quieter, and we had a chance to talk. She told me her name was...
I don't know, though. I mean, to me, that also does kind of throw up some red flags, though. It's like, you've never met this girl before, you know, you've just been dancing with her a little bit, and now all of a sudden she's like, "Hey, dude, you want to go take me back to your place and bang me?" I mean, again, you know, feel like it's one of those things where you're going to wake up the next day in a bathtub with a note on your chest saying, "Hey, go to the ER. You're missing a kidney."
Harriet, and she was very pleased to hear I live locally, as it was a cold night. She held my arm tightly as we walked back towards my street. At first I thought this was for warmth, as she didn't have a coat and I doubted the light jacket she was wearing had much insulation. When I looked at her, though, I saw she was looking around the same way she'd been watching the door earlier. Her nervousness was even more obvious now, and she was peering intently down every street we passed.
I mean, that would also be like a weird red flag too, right? Like, she seems nervous and anxious and is like nervously looking around at all the surroundings, checking like she's acting like someone is following her. Like, for me at that point, I'd be like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on here? Is someone like following you? Like, is she just using me as a means of like protection and she doesn't want to go to the cops?" You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I bringing to my home at this point? You know, that's where my mind would go. I mean, granted, you know, he's been drinking some, so maybe his senses, he's been drinking some and he's been dancing with her, so I'm sure he's a little aroused. So the other brain might be doing the thinking at the moment, but so I mean, I guess it's very possible that obviously he's not quite in his right mind, but I don't know. I would still, even in that kind of state, as long as I'm not like blackout drunk, which for me takes a lot to get to that way. Uh, I would be like a little wary at the moment. I would definitely be like, "What's going on? What are you looking for? Are you in some kind of trouble? Do you need help? You know what I mean?" Uh, yeah. Feel like it'd be going off easy, and yeah, not every one of these statement givers can be as on point as our, yeah, coffin dude. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I would just be a little on edge. You have a nervous woman. It sounds like at this point she's like using you for something and to get away from someone potentially, but doesn't want to go to the police, maybe. I don't know.
I asked her if anything was wrong and tried to tell her that I lived in a nice neighborhood, she was perfectly safe, that sort of thing. She nodded and agreed, but still seemed jumpy. When we were about halfway, she started scratching her arms. At first I thought she was just rubbing them for warmth, but after a few seconds it became clear that she was scratching them quite hard, leaving obvious red marks where her fingernails
Yikes.
dug in.
Nope.
I was starting
Nope.
to suspect something was wrong and asked Harriet
Starting.
if there was anything the matter, anything I should know. She just insisted we head back to my place as quickly as...
Yeah, at that point I'm like, I'm sorry. I can get you a cab and you can be on your way. I'm not letting this person anywhere near my place. Not letting her know where I live. Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
possible. I agreed, since I figured that whatever the problem was, we could deal with it easier in my flat than on the cold streets at midnight. By the time we reached my building, she was staring over her shoulder in near panic. I followed her gaze, but couldn't see anything, so quickly opened the front door and let her in.
This
She
guy's
seemed
crazy,
to
brother.
relax a bit once we were both in the relatively warm corridor with the door shut firmly behind us. My flat was on the 3rd floor, and even though, as I
This guy is letting the other head do too much of the thinking right now, dude. Like, for real. What are you doing? What are you doing?
said I don't live in a bad area, I did have an extra deadlock on my door. Harriet visibly relaxed when she saw it, and more so when it was closed. The skittish glances and scratching her arms stopped almost immediately. I offered her a coffee or tea to warm up. She just
For real,
asked
dude.
for a glass of water, said she was feeling a bit unwell. We sat down, and once I'd fetched her water and fixed myself a coffee, we talked for a while. My instincts had been right. She was a student studying art. She hadn't been in London long, she said, was originally from Salisbury, and had been finding it difficult recently. When she left that pause, I saw in her eyes hints of that panic I'd seen on the street. I asked her to tell me what was wrong, said something was clearly bothering her and I'd like to help. She got very quiet for a few moments and then nodded. She told me she'd been mugged the night before last, although the way she said the word mugged made it sound like she wasn't sure.
Why are you outside then? What? You've been mugged the night before, so you're going out dancing and partying again anyway? What?
I just nodded and let her continue talking. She lived up an archway on a street named Elthorne Road, and had been walking home around midnight when she saw a woman lying face down on the pavement. This woman wore a long red dress, and Harriet said she could see it shifting in the orange glow of the street lamps, as though something was moving underneath it.
Yikes.
Harriet was close.
You see a body face down in the street, and you see the dress shifting as if something is moving underneath it. That's a big nope for me, brother. That's a huge nope for me, brother. That's I'll call the police and let them know what's going on and they can figure it out. I'm not going near this thing.
To her house, which she shared with several other students, so she said she was maybe less careful than she should have been and had approached, calling out and asking if the woman needed help. There was no response, but all movement stopped, and the red dress went very still. Suddenly, far quicker than Harriet could have expected, the woman leapt to her feet and sprinted directly towards her, seizing her by the shoulders and pushing her back against a nearby wall. It happened so fast that Harriet said she had never really gotten a good look at the woman beyond her dress, a head of long matted black hair and wide staring eyes. The woman growled something at her, but Harriet couldn't make it out. She tried to ask what the mugger wanted, but as she did, she felt a sudden pain in her stomach as though she'd been stabbed.
This sounds like some 28 days later zombie stuff going on here, brother.
Which is exactly what she thought had happened. She told me that she had fallen to the ground and lost consciousness almost immediately. When she awoke, the woman in the red dress was gone. Harriet had expected to find herself lying in a pool of blood from her stomach wound, but could instead find no trace of any injury anywhere.
So, as the dude, you're hearing the story, and are you still committed to banging this chick? She literally could have just been infected with the zombie plague that's gonna end the world, but you're still trying to bang her at this point, brother? Goddamn.
Except for some scraped knees where she had fallen to the floor. She had staggered home and tried to sleep it off. Since then, she said she'd been seeing that woman everywhere she went. She felt like she was being followed all the time and couldn't stay in her own home, so whenever she did, it was like this weight was dragging her down. Her skin became so itchy as to be nearly unbearable.
Right.
Harriet had apparently tried to go to the police, but said as she approached the station she was overcome with such a powerful nausea that she threw up on the pavement. She had tried the hospital, but they just told her there was nothing obvious and to make an appointment with her doctor. She had been spending
So going to the police station made her so nauseous that she threw up and she couldn't enter or do anything. And then she went and got checked up and the doc said there's nothing wrong with her. As the guy, I'm still not trusting this at all, right? It's cool story, bro. Is that what you're thinking at the moment? I don't know, man.
the last 3 days just wandering in cafes and bars and clubs, anywhere there were enough people that she felt safe. She just did.
Oh, excuse me. That to me right there just also sounds very sus. That almost sounds like some kind of virus programming. You know what I mean? Right? She has some kind of subconscious desire now to go to populated places and just be there. What?
Didn't know what to do. By now, Harriet was crying, and I felt like a complete asshole for having brought the issue up. I mumbled some apologies. I don't know what I said. I was just trying to make her feel better. Not sure what I expected to happen, but I certainly didn't expect her to kiss me at that moment. I know, she was vulnerable, and I feel like but I swear I wasn't trying to take advantage.
Sure.
I asked her again and again if she was sure, but she just
For real,
kept
dude.
nodding and
Get her out.
dragged me to the bedroom. I mean, we had sex. There's not much more to say about that, really. The important thing is what happened afterwards. As we were lying there in bed, exhausted, I rested my head against her shoulder. I was about to say something or other, but before I could, I felt something move. It's hard to describe exactly, but it wasn't her shoulder that moved. It was something inside it, under the skin. It squirmed ever so slightly against my cheek.
Like I said, zombie infection, dude. She's patient zero here, dude. Literally burn the apartment down at this point.
Shot up in bed, but the only indication that she'd noticed anything amiss was that she reached over and absent-mindedly scratched where I'd been lying. I started to relax, lie down again. Maybe I'd just imagined it, but at that moment she doubled over and groaned in sudden pain. Her eyes went wide and she clutched her stomach tightly. I tried to see what was wrong, asked if I could help, but she just pushed me away. I had no idea what to do, so I ran out and towards the bathroom. My mind was going completely blank and I couldn't...
Yeah, you just had sex with that dude. Okay? She's literally got like the Ebola virus or something, and you just bang that.
remember whether I had any painkillers or indigestion medicine, or should I be calling an ambulance? I wasn't sure, and I ended up rooting through my medicine cabinet looking for, I don't know, anything that might have helped. I could still hear Harriet moaning in agony from the bedroom and had just made up my mind to call for an ambulance when I heard something that stopped me dead in my tracks.
Bro, did she just get pregnant? And like, is she about to give birth like that? Is that what's going on now?
It's hard to really describe the sound that came from the bedroom. The closest I could come would be to say it sounded like an egg being dropped onto a stone floor. A sort of wet, cracking thump. And then silence. Harriet was no longer making any noise at all. I slowly, very slowly walked back towards the bedroom. The door was open, but I hadn't turned the light on, so there was little to be seen inside except darkness. I could have turned on the light in the hall, I suppose, but something inside made me think that I didn't want a good look inside that room.
Bro, the hell with that. Turn on the damn light. Not only am I turning on the light, I'm grabbing like some kind of weapon to defend myself at this point, dude. I don't know what's happening.
I stopped at the threshold. The only illumination at all came from a thin sliver of light coming in through the gap in the curtains from a street lamp outside. You'll have to excuse me. What I saw is difficult to put down on paper, but it's the only way to explain why I had to do it. Why setting my flat alight and standing naked in the winter streets until the fire brigade arrived was far better than spending...
He literally burnt his apartment down.
And yes, I admit here I set the fire myself. Show it to the police for all I care. I just need someone to understand. The room was unrecognizable when I returned. There was a shape on the bed where Harriet had laid, but it wasn't her anymore. I could barely make out anything, even remotely human, in the pile of pitted and warped flesh that now remained. The bed itself was slick and shiny with a dark fluid that dripped off the hanging sheets and onto the floor. But what truly repulsed me, what made me flee as I did, was what moved and squirmed on all of it. They covered every surface. The floor, the bed, what used to be Harriet, even the ceiling. A thick, moving carpet of pale, writhing worms. The flat burned for a very...
Yeah, no, I'm burning everything down, dude. Throwing gasoline on everything, for sure. For sure.
Long time. Statement ends. This story...
Bro literally had sex with something that gave birth to John Carpenter's The Thing, dude. What?
Story is concerning, not because of Mr. Hodges' experience.
Oh, the story is concerning, really. Let's rewind that and just listen to that statement again.
For a very long time. Statement ends. This story is concerning.
You think? You think the story is concerning? Like, literally, he had sex with, like, patient zero for some kind of new plague of some sort, dude. Like, this is like some kind of straight up, like, bloodborne, eldritch god, John Carpenter's The Thing, you know, stuff happening here, right? Like, first of all, this dude is just straight up dumb. I don't know of any other words to say it, right? Like, there's red flag after red flag after red flag after red flag showing up at this chick. She's like all paranoid and nervous and anxious, scratching herself, looking around like someone's trying to attack her. Then she tells you a story about how, like, a few days ago, she saw some kind of body of a woman, like, laying out in the middle of the street, writhing and wriggling. And then she gets attacked by it. And then the next thing she knows, she wakes up and the woman's gone, nowhere to be seen. She feels weird, claims she went and got checked up at the hospital. Sure, whatever. And then ever since then, every night has been going out to public places, seemingly to look for someone and seemingly to have, mate, have sex with someone. And you just happen to be the idiot that fell for it. And now you have to burn your apartment down. You literally have to nuke the site from orbit. Bro's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Literally letting the other head do the thinking.
Not because of Mr. Hodges' experience, although I'm sure it was very upsetting. If it was true, of course. In fact, the police report that Sasha was able to acquire throws doubt on much of his story. While Mr. Hodges' flat did indeed catch fire on November 20th of last year, there was apparently no evidence of arson and no human remains found inside, despite the fact that the fire was brought under control long before any significant damage was done to the structure of the building. They did find some charred organic matter in the bedroom, but it was tested and apparently wasn't human, though the report doesn't list whether its source was ever determined. I will say it does link up with the reported disappearance of one Harriet Lee, a student at Roehampton, who was reported missing shortly after this statement was originally given. She seems to match the description given here. Still, that's not really what concerns me either, though obviously it's a tragic loss of life, etc., etc. No.
It's a tragic loss of life, etc., whatever. That's not what really concerns me here, that she died.
What I find quite alarming is that if Mr. Hodges' recollection of Harriet's tale is correct, and she was attacked by a woman in a red dress in Archway, then that matches the description and last known location of Jane Prentice. I can't find any evidence that my predecessor took follow-up action on this statement, so I've taken the step of reporting Mr. Hodges to the ECDC. We were unable to locate him to request a follow-up interview.
Yikes.
If he has had intercourse with one of Prentice's victims, then they'll need to deal with him sooner rather than later. I just hope it's not too late already.
This almost sounds very similar to a movie called Species. Came out in kind of the mid-90s. Where like some kind of alien organism basically like mimics and copycats people and is trying to essentially go around. It's a female and she's trying to have sex with as many guys as possible to get pregnant, to like have offspring. It sounds kind of similar to that in a lot of ways.
Recording ends.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Yeah, it's the European version of the CDC.
The Magnus Archives is a podcast distributed by RustyQuill.com and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike International License. Today's episode was written and performed by Jonathan Sims. It was produced by Alexander J. Newell, Mike LeBeau, and Murray Porter, and directed by Alexander J. Newell. To comment on episodes, make donations, and view links, images, videos, and show notes, visit rustyquill.com. Rate and review us on iTunes, visit us on Facebook, tweet us on Twitter @TheRustyQuill, or email us at mail@rustyquill.com. Thanks for listening.
There you go. You heard the man. Do all the things. Links will be down below to the playlist here for the Magnus Archives. the Rusty Quill Podcast YouTube channel and to their website. Do all the things he said, you know, check out their Patreon, sub, like, check them out on Twitter, all the things, comment on their videos, show them some support. I mean, for the most part, I've already kind of given my thoughts on this episode, but this is definitely the one episode so far that has like been the creepiest / most disturbing. I think it was like episode 2, Don't Open, the one with the coffin, was the only other one so far that was like somewhat kind of like disturbing-ish. But this one, yeah. And I mean, there's no other way to say it than the protagonist is just stupid. Like, straight up, dude. Like, so many red flags with this chick. And yeah, it seems like she got infected with something, and then that something was looking to mate. You know, maybe the original body that the woman found maybe wasn't suitable for whatever this creature was, this parasite, whatever. And so it attacked her and entered her because she was, you know, younger, healthier, maybe more attractive, whatever the case might be, would be considered more of a suitable mate, because afterwards she sought out public areas looking for people, and then this dumbass just happened to fall for it. And yeah, you know, they did the deed, and not much after, she gave birth to he described it as like a carpet of like writhing worms. You know, I don't know. Disgusting. If there was ever a reason to nuke a site from orbit, that would be it. But it also sounds like he disappeared after, so he may have been infected through having sex with her and is now also potentially spreading more of this around, you know, like that is another potential like disturbing thought. So I don't know. I wonder if this episode's gonna have a follow-up, because you know, he mentioned at the end here a reference to another woman, the original, you know, woman, I guess, potentially. So I wonder if maybe there's going to be some other kind of follow-up to that. But very creepy and very disturbing episode. So, but a good one. Definitely a good one. But I gotta say, the protagonist brought this all up on himself. He definitely, at any point in time, could have avoided any of this happening, but let the other brain do the thinking, it seems. So, but yeah, great episode. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, you know, with my commentary and reaction, consider leaving a like and a sub. It helps me and the channel grow, and it lets the YouTube algorithm gods know that you enjoy this kind of content and you want to see some more. There's a join button underneath the video, as well as the link in the description to the YouTube membership benefits and tiers that I have to offer. So, you know, if you want to come in and join us with our discussions that we have before, during, and after, if you just want to take your support to the channel to the next level, check all that stuff out and see if we would have any kind of interest. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you are still watching here at the very end, it means a lot. I greatly appreciate all the support, and we'll see you on the next one. You're all having yourselves a wonderful day.